I'm gonna talk to our, I'm gonna go up to the lab and see if he can run down here, but Ayyan's gonna talk real loud.
Okay.
Okay, talk really loud, okay, hon? I'll be right back. Let me call Mr. Start.
So my first question was, like, what got you interested in photographing landscapes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really like taking pictures of landscapes just because I like being outside. I like being out in nature, and, hiking and camping and seeing really cool things. So it was kind of natural at that point to bring along a camera and start taking pictures along the way. So that was that was the main reason why I got into landscape photography. I also, when I'm traveling, I like taking pictures just so that I can remember the places that I'm seeing, and a lot of good can come out of bringing a camera if you're traveling to a really cool place. So, yeah.
Spencer, I just spoke to Mr. Cassell, that's our tech guy, and he said when I made the call, because I don't usually use Skype, I pressed the call instead of the video. If you don't mind, do you mind if we call you right back?
Sounds good.
Okay, sorry. Oh, wait. Wait, how do we do that? Is it still being recorded?
Hey! I can see
Hey,
you
yay!
now.
Hi! And this is
Hello.
Ayyan here. Okay. All right, honey. Good. Keep going. All right. Thank you so much, Spencer.
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay.
So my second question was, besides landscapes, are there any other types of photos that you would like to take?
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I really like taking pictures of is macro photography, which is like taking pictures of really small objects. So bugs, plants, flowers, anything like that. Also related to nature, but I like taking pictures of those things because you can kind of see a world that you just normally would never see. There's some details like I've taken pictures of like lizards. Then when you take a picture of them, you can see details in their eye that you can't even see just by looking at them, which I think is really cool. Other than that, I also want to start taking pictures of more wildlife and animals, but I haven't done very much of it yet, only a little.
What was different about taking pictures of sandstorms?
Oh man, that was a crazy experience. So when I was taking pictures of a sandstorm, I didn't intend to be caught in a sandstorm. My goal was to just go out onto these really cool sand dunes in Death Valley, which is in California, and just take pictures at sunset because they're really beautiful. But when I got out there, it started becoming more and more windy, and I looked in the distance and I saw a giant cloud of sand. And I was too far out into the dunes to run back to my car, so I just had to stay there, and I waited, and then the sandstorm came on top of me, and I just started taking pictures. Yeah, but that experience was really intense. The wind was, oh man, the wind was probably blowing at 30 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour, and there was sand everywhere, so it was stinging my arms. I had a scarf to cover my face so that I didn't breathe in too much sand. And even though it was at night, I was wearing my sunglasses because otherwise sand would get in my eye.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really crazy experience.
Which sandstorm photo or any photo was the scariest to take and why?
Ooh, that is a good question. One time I was taking pictures in a helicopter, and if you take pictures through a window, then you can sometimes get like distortion in the photo or like blur because the window isn't very clear. And so to avoid that problem, we were flying in the helicopter with no door on the helicopter. And I did have a rope to, hold me to the chair, like a bungee cord, but it was still kind of scary to be, looking out the door of the helicopter that was completely wide open while we're, thousands of feet in the air taking pictures out of it. That was pretty scary. But this sandstorm one is probably either the most scary or the second most scary out of all the times that I've taken pictures, just because, it was something that I hadn't planned for, and it was very intense. And yeah, when you're taking pictures, of something like that, you just kind of feel overwhelmed and overpowered by just like how enormous it is. Yeah.
If you ever decide to take more photos of sandstorms, how would you prepare differently?
That's a good question also. Hi. I would, well, there's a couple things that I didn't do because I didn't know that I would be taking pictures of a sandstorm. I didn't have a really good scarf to cover my mouth. If I were doing it again, one thing that I learned afterwards is that you can actually I had like a bandana. You can take the bandana and you can like dip it in water and then put it around your face, and then it blocks more of the sand from like you breathing in the sand. As it was, even though I kind of had that covering my nose and mouth, I still was definitely breathing in some sand, which is not a good thing to do. And so I would definitely do that. I also learned that if you take Vaseline and you like put it around your nose and you put it around your mouth, then it can also stop some sand from being breathed in. So I would do that as well. Let's see, what else? Well, I did have, one thing that was good is that I had 2 GPSs with me. Because when you're in a sandstorm like that, you can't even tell where you're going or where you've been. There's no way to see anything in the distance. I was limited to being able to see what was just, 20 feet in front of me, and that was it. And I was trying to get back to my car. Luckily, I had, GPSs that I knew how to get there, but if I were going to do it again, I would definitely make sure ahead of time, probably to bring more than even just 2 GPSs. I would have the one on my phone, and then I would have 2 extras in addition to that. Because if one of them breaks or if one of them's wrong, then you could just get trapped out there, and that would be really awful. Let's see, other than that, yeah, that's probably about it. Yeah, it was a little scary because I was doing it like right at sunset, so it wasn't just the sandstorm, it was also at night almost, so yeah, by the end it got really dark. Maybe a better flashlight. I didn't have a great flashlight. That made it a little harder when you're kind of walking in the sandstorm and it's dark out, and even if you have a flashlight, the flashlight kind of shines onto the grains of sand that are in the air, so you actually don't really light up very much of your path. And you need a really, really bright flashlight if you want to actually be able to see anywhere in the distance. So probably bring a brighter flashlight.
How did the sandstorm affect you physically during and after the sandstorm?
Yeah, during the sandstorm, I could tell that even though I had that bandana covering my mouth, I could tell that I was still breathing in some sand. So it kind of was like a little bit painful in my throat. It was also painful on my arms because I was wearing just a short sleeve shirt, and so the sand was like really stinging my arms. But after the sandstorm was probably the worst because I had breathed in so much dust that I started, like this was after I had gotten out of the sandstorm, but I started coughing, and for like the next couple days my voice wasn't quite right. And yeah, I'm hoping that I didn't do too much damage to my throat or my lungs back then, but yeah, it was definitely painful over the next couple days.
How did it affect you mentally during and after?
Mentally it was actually really exciting. It was kind of thrilling because I'd never done anything close to that before, and just the level of excitement you get when you're kind of surrounded by something so cool. And I did still feel safe. I didn't feel like I was in danger, which probably was part of that. But yeah, you have a sense of kind of how incredible nature can be when you're right in the middle of something as awesome as that. So yeah, mentally I found it to be pretty amazing. And same afterwards, thinking about it afterwards, I was thinking like that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. partly because, again, I knew that I was safe. If I had been really worried that I wasn't safe, then I probably would have been very scared during it and afterwards. But more than being scared, I was kind of just in awe of how cool it was. Yeah.
Would you ever purposely try and experience another sandstorm? Why or why not?
Yeah, it's a good question. Probably. Yeah, I probably would because it wasn't a bad experience. It was a really cool experience. I would if I went back to Death Valley and I knew that there could be another sandstorm, I would still go out onto the sand dunes to try to take pictures. But I would do what I told you. I would, dip the bandana in water. I would bring along some like Vaseline so that I could cover my nose and my mouth a little bit better. Try to prevent myself from breathing in too much sand. But it was such a cool experience that yeah, if I could do it again, then I would for sure.
What is your favorite photograph that you ever taken? Why?
Ooh. My favorite photo that I've ever taken is probably a photo of a lizard that I took, one of my macro photos, because, well, actually, I can show you it real quick. Let's see, I should have it pulled up. Yeah. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Pretty well? Okay. So the reason that I like this photo is because normally when you take pictures of something like a lizard, they're really scared of you, and they don't kind of stick around to let you take pictures. And with this one, it was so early in the morning, and this lizard had like a bunch of water droplets on it just from dew in the morning, and I think it was just trying to wait for the sun to rise so that it could warm up, and so that the water would evaporate off of its back. And for whatever reason, it wasn't scared of me, and it just stayed still as I was trying to take pictures. And so I was able to get that photo where the lizard's really neat, and there's a lot of detail on it, and also the background has like water droplets, just because it was so early in the morning. And that was a really neat one to take, and I really remember taking it. It was very cool.
The photo of the lizard.
The sandstorm one, though, is out of my landscape photos. That's probably my favorite, just because it was such a crazy experience. Yeah, like it's there's one black and white photo that I took during the sandstorm that I really like.
The photo of the lizard. I think you won an award for that, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep. The lizard.
Yeah.
Yep. I did. Yeah. That one. I ended up having displayed at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History, which was really cool. I won an award for a contest called Nature's Best Photography, and I won the under 18 years old competition for it. Yeah.
My last question is, where haven't you traveled that you would like to go and photograph?
Ooh, boy, there's a lot of places that I'd love to travel. Let me think. I've always wanted to travel to Greenland. I know that it's a little bit off the beaten path, and I don't know, only 10,000 people or a few more live there. Not very many people even live there, and it's a huge country. And the reason why I want to go there is because very, very few people take pictures in Greenland. It's a very unusual place to do landscape photography, which means that there are a lot of landscapes there that either very few people have ever photographed or no one has ever photographed that are really, really cool. The only issues photographing in Greenland is that there are very few roads there. It's very hard to get around. So if I went to Greenland, it would be amazing, but it would also be a very challenging place to take pictures, just because in a place like Death Valley, there's roads everywhere. I just parked at a parking lot and walked like a mile or two to photograph the sandstorm. But for Greenland, you would have to park and then hike for a couple days maybe to get to a cool place. So that would be quite a challenge, but a lot of fun. Yeah.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for calling and asking. So what's the project that you're doing?
This how sandstorms affect people's lives.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's nice. Well, it definitely affected mine from the perspective of a photographer. So that's good. Awesome.
Thank you. You've been super nice.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you. I
And we
appreciate
love
it.
your photography. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep track of all the photos that you take. I love it.
Well, thanks. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
We're
the type of
fans.
thing that I love doing. So,
Okay,
all right.
Ayyan, I'll let you
Good to
finish up.
talk to you. Good to meet
Bye.
you as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.